Welcome back to Sped Up News. We are covering the full timeline of the Rachel Leviss versus Ariana Madix and Tom Sandoval lawsuit that was filed in February of 2024. And I'm taking you through all the legal pleadings that were filed in that case to date, including up to the most recent one that was quite a scandal in and of itself, where Tom filed a cross complaint against Ariana, and then in the media, once he was devoured and attacked, alleged that that was an accident and that his attorneys had done that without his authorization. And now, as we know, Tom Sandoval has reported that he is going to be representing himself moving forward in this litigation. So I wanted to take us all back to the very beginning to go through all of the complaints. In part one of this video, which I will link below, I went through the first several pages up to page 8 of Rachel Leviss's complaint that she filed in February 2024 against co-defendants Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix. And I'm going to be continuing that right now. We're then going to be going into Tom Sandoval's demurrer, his motion to strike, also Ariana's motion for anti-SLAPP. She was alleging that Rachel Leviss's complaint should be dismissed because it violated First Amendment rights. And then also the court's order and how the court ruled regarding Ariana's motion, and also the most recent cross complaint that was filed by Tom Sandoval. He alleges accidentally, and that it was not his intent to do that. So going back to the Rachel Leviss complaint that was filed against Ariana and Tom, we are at page 8. This is part 2 of the video. I've linked part 1 below in the show notes. So Sandoval, Rachel Leviss's complaint states that Sandoval captured the public's attention in a massive way, went completely viral, and injected new life into Vanderpump's rules. And it caused mayhem in Leviss's life, culminating in months-long inpatient treatment at a mental health facility and her departure from the show. Fomented by Bravo and Evolution in conjunction with the cast, Leviss was subjected to a public skewering with little precedent and became, without exaggeration, one of the most hated women in America. On March 4th, 2023, the day after news of the affair had broken, production directed Leviss to film with Sandoval at her Los Angeles apartment. With cameras rolling, Leviss confronted Sandoval for secretly recording pornographic videos of her and storing them unprotected on his phone. Sandoval had not only invaded her privacy and breached her trust, but had also left her enormously vulnerable to a nightmare scenario of the videos leaking on the internet. Sandoval responded to Leviss's fury with cowardice and lies, claiming falsely that he had obtained permission to record her. Seeing that Leviss was having none of it, however, Sandoval ultimately offered a reluctant admission and a sheepish apology. Sandoval was clearly rattled. After filming ended, an erratic and unsettled Sandoval refused to leave Levis's apartment in spite of her requests. Leviss was forced to have her sister and brother-in-law pick her up and drive her to their home. That day, Leviss retained an attorney to mitigate the risk of the illicit video leaking. Once at her sister's home, Leviss turned off her phone for 2 days, hoping the heat would die down. And I do remember that because when cameras picked back up and we were all watching that final episode of Vanderpump Rules season 10, we saw that scene in the apartment with Tom Sandoval and Rachel. They had like the galaxy lights on, and she had like I think a Coors Light beer, and it was kind of an eerie scene. Very eerie, actually. And I remember at the reunion, the cast was saying that she had turned off her phone after that scene. And I guess, you know, she's telling her side of the story, which is that Tom was allegedly being very unsettled afterwards. He was being erratic. He refused to leave her apartment. She's claiming that he did admit on camera to having recorded her without her consent, but that he then somehow the allegation that was swirling around the media was that he somehow worked it out with Bravo that they didn't air that part. So I think one report said that he had refused to film if they did not comply with his request not to air that. So Rachel Leviss is saying in her complaint that the Bravo and Evolution companies sought to capitalize on Sandoval, and they're protecting Tom Sandoval. So media reports suggest that Sandoval was in a panic over the on-camera confrontation with Levis. Specifically, he was concerned that being accused of recording non-consensual pornography would paint him in a negative light. Sandoval reportedly threatened to cease all further filming for the show unless he was granted editing rights over the scene. Shockingly, Bravo and Evolution obliged his demand. The scene was selectively edited to omit any mention of Sandoval's illicit recording or Levis's lack of consent. This was part of a pattern and practice of Bravo and Evolution, throwing Levis under the bus in favor of Sandoval. Now, what do you think in the comments, friends? Let me know in the comments. Do you believe that happened? Is that the case, do you believe? I think it's possible because Sandoval is one of the main characters. He has been an OG Vanderpump Rules star. He has been on the show since its very first season, and he certainly is paid more than Levis and has more pull and weight. So that is possible that Bravo and Evolution, the production companies, were protecting Sandoval. Recording someone engaged in sex acts without their consent is a crime, and Sandoval appears to have admitted it on camera. According to this complaint by Rachel Levis, portraying the confrontation as it actually occurred instead of protecting sleazy Sandoval would not only have been truthful, it would have also been good television. But Bravo and Evolution had apparently decided that Levis would be their sacrificial lamb. Throughout the ordeal, they have sanitized the story to ensure Levis would be seen as the arch villain. On March 7th, Levis's attorneys sent out cease and desist letters to the cast regarding the distribution of the non-consensual illicit videos. The letters promptly leaked. Levis also filed a police report and applied for a temporary restraining order against Sheena Shea, the cast member who had assaulted her on March 1st. Despite initially bragging about having punched Levis, Shea began to adamantly deny it in public. And I remember she was denying it when the Sandoval cameras picked back up. Sheena Shea was in her interview saying, "I can't make a fist. I have like really long nails. I can't make a fist." Like she was denying that she would have been able to assault or punch Levis. So Shea accused Levis of lying and abusing the court system. This was in spite of Shane's own private and televised admissions of guilt and Levis's visible facial injuries. By March 10th, Levis had decided to check herself into a mental health facility. I do remember this whole ordeal. There was great criticism of her for being at Miraval, which people were saying was a spa. Sandoval, for his part, tried to talk her out of it and begged her to participate in the reunion. Levis reluctantly agreed to wait on the condition that a mental health professional be on set in case things got out of hand, given her fragile mental state and the fury brewing among the cast. Bravo agreed, then changed its mind. Levis then requested her publicist and confidant, Juliette Harris, be permitted to attend. Bravo agreed, then again changed its mind. By that point, the reunion was the next day, too soon for Levis to pull out, and she had no reasonable alternative but to participate. She also feared the legal implications of refusing to appear, given the draconian terms of her contract. And yes, there are pretty staunch terms in a contract for reality TV like this where they do have to participate in the reunion. They can be held in breach of contract for failing to appear for that, depending on how the language is written. And also, frankly, I believe that they can lose certain pay if they fail to appear for the reunion, because with a lot of reality TV shows, some of the money is advanced up front. Like I know for Southern Charm, there was some talk about how like some cast members get like half or a portion of their money up front, but then they get the second portion of the money as time goes on. So depending on how the contract is structured, it could be quite detrimental to Rachel Levis to not show up at the reunion. But I don't really get why, if it's true what she's saying, I don't really get why Bravo would prevent a mental health professional from being on set at the reunion, because honestly that would help cover their butt. Like that would help cover them against, it would, at least to the public, create an appearance that they were caring about the mental health of the, not just Rachel Leviss, but everyone that was on set. Because this must have been quite, of course, this was quite upsetting to Ariana and other cast members as well, Sheena Shea. So I'm not sure why Bravo would decline having a mental health professional at the reunion, if that is true. So Leviss's complaint goes on to say that Leviss also feared the legal implications of refusing to appear on the reunion, given the draconian terms of her contract. And so she did appear, but without the support that she felt she needed and that Bravo had previously offered to provide. At the same time, press coverage was slanted decidedly against Leviss, who became an object of scorn and ridicule. That is an accurate description. She was really put through the ringer by the press, whether you agree or don't agree with how she was treated. Other cast members were vilifying her in interviews and waging a public campaign against her on social media. They could not have done so without the blessing of Bravo, which pre-approves all cast media appearances and exercises tight control over public messaging. Bravo had clearly decided this feeding frenzy was good for ratings. Various cast members and Bravo itself also released their own Sandoval merchandise to cash in on the explosion of interest, including an I Survived Sandoval long sleeve shirt currently available for sale on Bravo's website. It is clear that Bravo deliberately sacrificed Leviss for the sake of its commercial interests, from its refusal to allow her the opportunity to tell her side of the story and defend herself, which she repeatedly begged for permission to do. Without exception, her pleas fell on deaf ears. As a result of this asymmetrical coverage, the public was not made aware of the extent to which Leviss was victimized by the ordeal or the toll it was taking on her mental health or on her mental state. As the feeding frenzy reached a crescendo, Leviss was subjected to a gag order prohibiting her from discussing Sandoval's gross invasion of her privacy. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. So Madix's vengeful response, Bravo's cover-up, or the veracity of her allegations of physical assault against Shea, who is publicly calling her a liar, accusing her of playing the victim, and being falsely backed up by others. In sum, while the rest of the cast savaged Leviss's reputation and lied about her in the press, drumming up not only interest in Vanderpump Rules, but also hatred of her. Leviss herself was involuntarily silent, muzzled by Bravo for the sake of its ratings. While all of this may have been good for ratings, it was catastrophic for Leviss, the human being who was forced into hiding and subjected to death threats directed at her and her family. Sandoval, on the other hand, received a development deal from Bravo for a job well done, along with a pay raise. Andy Cohen exploits Leviss's fragile mental state is the next part of this complaint. And Leviss alleges that, as expected, the reunion was a train wreck for Leviss of epic proportions. With full knowledge of her then dire mental state, Bravo and Andy Cohen took no steps to mitigate Leviss's abuse, even as Cohen himself expressed concern about her mental health going into the reunion. Wow. So I think it is clear. I think it is fair to say it was clear that she was having struggles. One fellow cast member, Katie Maloney, had been openly threatening to light her on fire. Another cast member, Shea, had violently assaulted her. During the reunion itself, Leviss was on the receiving end of unrelenting missives. Diabolical, demented, subhuman, a poo-poo head, F yourself with an effing cheese grater, you effing suck, you're disgusting, I wish nothing but the worst effing shit that could ever happen to a person on you. She was berated, abused, and dehumanized by the rest of the cast. Above all, Madix, Leviss remained largely silent and stoic in apparent shock. Later, Cohen remarked glibly that he did not know how long she would last on set and chalked up her apparent stoicism to being really medicated. But Cohen and Bravo already knew that Levis was indeed medicated, something neither surprising nor remotely funny in light of what was happening to her. The next section of the complaint states Bravo and Evolution sabotage Levis's recovery. By the time of the reunion, Levis was utterly battered physically and mentally, and shortly thereafter, she checked into a mental health treatment facility and remained there for 3 months. Even in treatment, however, Levis could not escape from the claws of Bravo and Evolution. She was warned repeatedly by them not to breach her confidentiality obligations, which contain no exceptions for medical treatment or therapy. As a result, Levis was fearful of facing legal repercussions for her honesty and was forced to walk on eggshells. This caused her extreme stress and severely stunned her progress in treatment. However, I do not feel that even despite whatever contractual terms she was under for confidentiality, I don't feel that she would have violated that by confiding in a therapist, because the things that you state to a therapist are protected by patient-therapist privilege. So I do not feel that that would have caused an issue for her. But she claims that she was fearful. Next, unfortunately, that did nothing to stop the vitriol. When Levis checked into treatment, she gave her dog Graham to her parents for safekeeping. Graham was traumatized by years of abuse at the hands of James Kennedy and was not an easy dog to manage. After a number of incidents, including one in which he bit Levis's mom down to the bone and caused her permanent nerve damage, keeping Graham became untenable. Levis's family handed him over to a no-kill rescue organization and requested its discretion given the intense public scrutiny of Levis. Instead of rehoming Graham as promised, the rescue organization, knowing full well that Kennedy had a history of animal abuse, contacted Lisa Vanderpump, who gave Graham back to Kennedy, and that was all lived out on screen. We saw that happen in Vanderpump Rules season 11. all of them with Bravo's blessing, then seeded a false and malicious narrative that Levis had tried to get the dog put down. At around this time, rumors were circulating, also seeded by Bravo and the cast, that Levis was actually on vacation and had faked her hospitalization. Illustrating the depths of its moral turpitude, Bravo refused to publicly acknowledge that Levis was in fact in an inpatient mental health treatment, presumably for fear such disclosure would undermine the storyline. Not only would they not do so, they prohibited Levis, through her publicist, from doing so. All of this caused even more public scorn of Levis, further unjustified harm to her reputation, and increased threats to her and her family's physical safety. In short, Levis has been battered and broken irrevocably in service of a salacious storyline. Unsurprisingly, Bravo and Evolution badly wanted her to return for season 11. However, it was abundantly clear that they completely failed to understand or appreciate the toll Sandoval had taken on her. They warned her, unironically, that she must return to avoid having her story told by others, and reaffirmed her prohibition against speaking to the press on her own terms. But the depths of her mistreatment in season 10 went far beyond what is acceptable even in reality television, and Levis knew that returning to the show meant risking a very bad descent back into the depths of despair from which she had just emerged. Meanwhile, everybody else got what they wanted. Vanderpump Rules remains on the air, continuing to milk the storyline Levis catalyzed. Sandoval emerged with significantly higher pay and a development deal with Bravo. Madix has become a bona fide darling of pop culture, has a new boyfriend, and is starring on Broadway. For Levis, the future is less rosy. She brings the suit to vindicate her legal rights, if not to restore her sullied reputation. So now let's get to the meat of this complaint, which is the causes of action. So there's 4 causes of action, the first of which is eavesdropping. So Levis and Sandoval engaged in numerous private and confidential video conference communications from 2022 to 2023. Unbeknownst to Levis and without her consent, Sandoval surreptitiously recorded their conversations. Levis had an objectively reasonable expectation that these communications were private and objectively believed that they were not being recorded. At no point prior to the confidential communications was Levis informed that Sandoval was recording their communications, nor did Sandoval obtain Levis's consent to be recorded. Levis is informed and believes that some of the unlawfully obtained recordings depict her in a state of undress and engaged in sex acts. Accordingly, Sandoval has violated the eavesdropping statute in California and the privacy rights conferred upon Levis under California law. As a result of Sandoval's illegal actions, Levis has been injured, including without limitation, by having her privacy invaded in violation of the law. Levis seeks all available remedies, and she believes that Sandoval acted with oppression, fraud, and malice, or alternatively, that he acted in such conscious disregard of Levis's right to privacy that as a direct and proximate result of his collective and individual acts, Levis is entitled to punitive damages in amount to be determined at trial. So this is fairly standard language, friends, in a tort case. The second cause of action is for revenge porn. And this is the cause of action that has caused a lot of scrutiny. So on or about March 1st, 2023, Madix discovered sexually explicit videos of Levis on the mobile phone of Sandoval. The photos depict Levis in a state of undress and engaged in a sexual act within the meaning of the statute. Sandoval recorded the videos without the knowledge or consent of Levis, who had a reasonable expectation of privacy, that their private communications were not being recorded and would stay private. So again, she believes that Sandoval's mobile phone, without Sandoval's authorization, that Madix obtained these videos of Levis from Sandoval's mobile phone without his authorization. Levis also believes that Madix obtained the videos of Levis from Sandoval's mobile phone and distributed and disseminated them to others, including but not limited to Madix herself, Levis, and other individuals whose identities are not currently known to Levis. Levis also believes that Madix displayed the videos or disclosed their contacts to individuals who may not have received them directly, including but not limited to Bravo, Evolution, members of the Vanderpump Rules cast, and other individuals whose identities are not currently known to Levis. Levis was not aware that such illicit videos had been captured by Sandoval and thus could not have consented to their distribution. Madix distributed, disseminated, shared, and publicized the illicit videos intentionally and knew or reasonably should have known that she did not have Levis's consent to do so. So Levis has suffered grave emotional, psychological, financial, and reputational harm as a result of Madix's distribution, dissemination, and publication of the illicit videos. The illicit videos were recorded when Levis was in a private residence where Levis's reasonable expectation of privacy was at its zenith. As a direct and proximate result of Madix's actions, Levis has suffered and will continue to suffer general and special damages alleged herein in an amount to be proven at trial. Levis is informed and believes, and on such information and belief alleges, that in performing the acts herein alleged, Madix acted with oppression, fraud, and malice, or that she acted in such conscious disregard of Levis's right to privacy. As a direct and proximate result of her collective and individual acts, Levis is entitled to punitive damages, an amount to be determined at trial. The third cause of action is invasion of privacy. As alleged above, Sandoval invaded Levis's privacy by, among other things, secretly recording her private communications and capturing sexually explicit footage of Levis without her knowledge or consent in a manner highly offensive to a reasonable person. He knew or should have known that Levis had a reasonable expectation of privacy, such as their private conversations would remain private, and that she was not being secretly recorded. Levis could not have consented to Sandoval recording sexually explicit footage of her because she did not know that he was doing so. So the footage was captured during private, intimate communications that Levis had every reason to believe would remain private. The invasion of Levis's privacy by Sandoval was offensive and objectionable to Levis and to a reasonable person of ordinary sensitivity. So those are just some fancy legal words that are the legal standard. So As alleged above, Madix invaded Levis's privacy by, among other things, obtaining the illegally recorded, sexually explicit footage of her without authorization and distributing, disseminating, and publicizing it in a manner highly offensive to a reasonable person. Madix knew or should have known that Levis had a reasonable expectation of privacy. Such sexually explicit footage of her recorded without her knowledge or consent would not be obtained without authorization by a third party and distributed, disseminated, and publicized. Levis never consented to Madix obtaining illegally recorded sexually explicit footage of her and disseminating, distributing, and publicizing it. The invasion of privacy by Madix was offensive and objectionable to Levis and to a reasonable person's ordinary sensibility. So she's asserting these same causes of actions against both Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix. So she's informed and believed that in performing the acts alleged, Sandoval, Madix, and each of them acted with oppression, fraud, and malice, or alternatively, that each of them acted in such conscious disregard of her right of privacy. The fourth and final cause of action is intentional infliction of emotional distress. In doing the acts and things described herein, Sandoval and Madix engaged in extreme and outrageous conduct that transcended the bounds of human decency. So let's go to this final page about the allegations. And she claims that she has suffered emotional distress as a result of the actions that have been committed by Sandoval and Madix, including severe emotional distress, physical manifestations of emotional distress, anxiety, shock, embarrassment, loss of self-esteem, disgrace, humiliation, powerlessness, sleeplessness, and loss of enjoyment of life. Levis's severe emotional distress prevents her from performing daily activities and obtaining a full enjoyment of life. Sandoval's and Madix's acts were at all times extreme and outrageous and intended to cause Levis emotional distress or performed with reckless disregard for the probability of causing such emotional distress. So then they allege direct or proximate causation, that Levis has been and will continue to be damaged in an amount to be proven at trial, including but not limited to emotional distress, anxiety, pain, fear, physical injuries, medical expenses, and financial losses. And all amounts according to proof and in excess of the jurisdictional minimum of this court. Levis is informed and believes, again, she believes that they acted with fraud, oppression, or malice, or that they did so with disregard of her rights to privacy. Now, the prayer for relief, she says she's asking for compensatory damages and other special, general, and consequential damages according to proof, a temporary and permanent injunctive relief, ordering defendants to cease distribution of illegally obtained recordings of plaintiff, including those depicting her intimate body parts or engaging in sexual acts, and ordering the destruction and deletion of all electronic and physical copies of said recordings in their possession, custody, or control. For civil penalties that are pertinent to statute, civil penalties are a different type of penalty that can be assessed in certain civil cases. And it says here that she is also asking for all costs of suit, attorney's fees, and expert fees. And she is also asking for award of punitive or exemplary damages. She's asking for pre- and post-judgment interest and for such other relief as the court deems just. They also demand a jury, which is very standard in California court, to demand a jury trial at the end of the complaint. I have practiced myself in California court and also within the county of Los Angeles where this lawsuit is filed. I've handled a number of large cases in that county and in that state. So I'm familiar with these type of pleadings when I was practicing at a national law firm. So we are going to now turn to Tom Sandoval's motion to strike. He filed a motion to strike certain portions of this complaint. And he has asked that the court strike certain language, as you can see here on the page. He also has filed what's called a demurrer, where you can allege that someone has not stated all of the necessary elements of a claim to be able to state that claim. So he did file a demurrer, and to give you the breakdown, he's basically stating that she did not meet all of the elements of the eavesdropping statute to be able to maintain an eavesdropping claim against him. He filed this in April of 2024, and Then what happened was the court ruled that that Levis did not meet all elements, did not properly state all elements of the claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress. So the court did actually dismiss the claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress against Sandoval. The court said, we're going to dismiss that claim. And they said, but we're going to allow the eavesdropping, invasion of privacy, and the revenge porn claims to still be brought by Rachel Levis against Tom Sandoval. They also gave Rachel Levis's attorneys 20 days to amend her complaint if she wanted to amend her complaint to restate the intentional infliction of emotional distress claims in a way that would state a claim under California law. And that's very standard practice in courts, is for the judge to allow the parties time to amend their complaints. And then Ariana, this is really interesting. Ariana filed this motion to dismiss the complaint. She filed an anti-SLAPP case, which is alleging that Rachel Levis's case should be dismissed against Ariana because she claims that it violates the First Amendment right of free speech. She says that, Your Honor, if you allow Rachel Levis to bring this case against me, Ariana Madix, then you are in fact infringing upon First Amendment rights. So, and then I'm going to show you how the court ruled on that. But it's important that we understand what Ariana alleged. She brought something that's called an anti-SLAPP suit, anti-SLAPP motion, where she's asking the court to dismiss the claims that Rachel has brought against her. Her argument is that for several years, plaintiff Rachel Levis knowingly agreed to have every aspect of her life filmed and broadcast to millions of people on the reality TV show Vanderpump Rules. Plaintiff's decision to expose her entire life to the viewing public brought her fame, money, and opportunities that she never would have experienced otherwise, right? And plaintiff reveled in the attention, going so far as to allow camera crews to film her engagement and confession of her sex life with her fiance. In August of 2022, plaintiff began having an affair with one of her castmates, Tom Sandoval, who was in a long-term relationship with the defendant, Ariana Madix. Contrary to plaintiff's allegations, Ms. Madix did not know about the affair. But on March 1st, 2023, Ms. Madix learned about it in the worst possible way by discovering a video on Mr. Sandoval's phone of the plaintiff, Rachel Levis, and Mr. Sandoval having phone sex. Ms. Madix was devastated and immediately confronted Mr. Sandoval and plaintiff, Rachel Levis, regarding their betrayal. Ms. Madix also informed her friends and colleagues. One thing Ms. Madix did not do was share or show any of the video footage she found on Mr. Sandoval's phone with anyone but plaintiff Rachel Levis. In fact, Ms. Madix could not have shared such footage because Mr. Sandoval deleted it from her phone within minutes of Ms. Madix confronting him, a fact Ms. Madix stated in writing 33 minutes after sending the videos to plaintiff Rachel Levis. Despite Ms. Madix's discretion and restraint, the plaintiff, Rachel Levis, alleges in the complaint that Ms. Madix should have done absolutely nothing after discovering the messages and sexually explicit videos between her life partner and Rachel Levis. If plaintiff had her way, Ms. Madix would not have told anyone about the affair or the video. But because Ms. Madix did share such information, as is her right, plaintiff Rachel Levis seeks to punish her and blame Ms. Madix for the negative reactions that plaintiff received as a result of her affair with Mr. Sandoval. Rachel Levis's complaint against Ms. Madix is an abuse of the legal system. Plaintiff does not seek to vindicate any cognizable rights, but only seeks to punish Ms. Madix and deter others from exercise their constitutionally protected right of free speech. Such conduct is plainly barred by California's anti-SLAPP statute. So California has a statute that protects free speech. So then Ariana Madix's motion to dismiss Rachel Levis's complaint states that because Rachel Levis's claims against Ms. Madix fall within the broad ambit of the anti-SLAPP statute, they should be stricken, and Ms. Madix should be awarded her attorney's fees and costs. Now Ariana Madix gives a factual background. Vanderpump Rules. In 2013, Bravo debuted the reality TV show Vanderpump Rules, which followed the personal and professional lives of restaurateur Lisa Vanderpump and the staff at her Los Angeles restaurant Sir. The young staff members allowed cameras to document every aspect of their personal lives. Over the first 4 seasons, viewers had front row seats to 3 male cast members cheating on their girlfriends, 2 female cast members having affairs with married men, alcohol-fueled vacation, and physical fights between cast members. While this may sound like an unhealthy environment to some, the cast members willingly returned season after season, while hundreds of others clamored for an opportunity to appear on the series. And plaintiff Rachel Leviss was one such person. And Rachel Leviss did appear on the show from 2016 through 2023. So then Ariana states that in 2016, Rachel Leviss began dating series regular James Kennedy and agreed to make appearances on the show's 5th season. For 3 seasons, plaintiff voluntarily appeared on the series, and in 2021, she joined the series as a regular cast member and was featured in an ongoing storyline about her engagement to Mr. Kennedy and discussions of their sex life. After ending her engagement to Mr. Kennedy in December of 2021, plaintiff chose to return for season 10. Plaintiff has admitted that when filming started in July 2022, she was depressed, in a bad emotional state, drinking heavily, and looking to jump into a new relationship. Her storyline focused on dating other cast members, including a flirtation with a fellow cast member's ex-husband. Behind the scenes, plaintiff began a secret romantic relationship with Mr. Sandoval, who was then in a committed relationship with Ms. Madix and had been for 9 years. Plaintiff and Mr. Sandoval successfully managed to keep their affair a secret from Ms. Madix, the production team, and other cast members until after filming for season 10 ended. All right, so then Ariana's motion goes on to state that on March 1st, 2023, while Mr. Sandoval's band played at a club in West Hollywood, Mr. Sandoval's phone fell from his pocket and a mutual friend handed it to Ms. Madix. Because Mr. Sandoval and Ms. Madix had been in a committed relationship for so long, and because they trusted one another and presumably did not keep secrets from one another, Ms. Madix knew many of Mr. Sandoval's passcodes, including the one for his phone. Call it women's intuition. When the set ended, Ms. Madix felt the need to check Mr. Sandoval's phone and went to the women's room for privacy. In a locked stall, she accessed the phone and saw strangely suspicious text messages between Mr. Sandoval and Rachel Leviss. Ms. Madix then opened the photo app on Mr. Sandoval's phone and was shocked to find a video, a FaceTime call between Mr. Sandoval and the plaintiff Rachel Leviss that showed Mr. Sandoval's face in the upper corner, while the main image was of a plaintiff masturbating. Ms. Madix quickly snapped 2 short recordings of the video on her own phone before closing Mr. Sandoval's phone and leaving the bathroom. Back in the club, Ms. Madix walked up to Mr. Sandoval, who asked if she wanted to go into the alley for a cigarette. In the alley, Ms. Madix confronted him about the affair. Concerned that people might overhear them, Mr. Sandoval tried to move Ms. Madix away from the club. Around the same time, Ms. Madix sent the video she recorded to plaintiff along with a text message reading, "You're dead to me." Ms. Madix did not share, display, or send the video to anyone else. In fact, Madix only saw the video of plaintiff masturbating in places secluded from others, alone in the bathroom stall and in the alley with Mr. Sandoval. A heated argument ensued, and Mr. Sandoval forcibly grabbed Ms. Madix's phone from her hands, causing Ms. Madix's credit cards and driver's license to fall to the pavement. Ms. Madix quickly grabbed her cards off the pavement and chased after Mr. Sandoval, who had further distanced himself from the club. By the time Mr. Sandoval had deleted from her phone the videos she had recorded of the FaceTime video, Sandoval had also deleted the videos from the recently deleted folder on her phone. So basically, Ariana is saying, I could not have possibly disseminated this to anyone because the proof that I had gotten on my own phone from Sandoval's phone, he actually deleted it. He deleted it off of Ariana's phone. So next, minutes later, Ms. Maddox texted a friend about what happened, stated, I called her after finding out and texting her the videos of herself from Tom's phone that I took. Tom took my phone and deleted them, chased him all the way down San Vicente, which I guess is a street in Los Angeles where they were at the time, near Tom Tom, because Tom was performing at Tom Tom the night when the affair was exposed and discovered by Ariana. Ariana's motion goes on to say, as any reasonable person would do after learning that they had been cheated on, Ms. Maddox began informing her friends about what had happened. According to plaintiff Rachel Leviss, she did the exact same thing. On March 3rd, 2023, news of the affair broke and was covered by dozens of media outlets, which dubbed it Sandoval. Many of the articles noted that Ms. Maddox had learned about the affair by finding intimate videos of plaintiff on Mr. Sandoval's phone. Not a single article contains such videos nor screenshots of the videos. That's a pretty salient point. There would likely have been a leak to the media, or a leak online, if Ariana had in fact disseminated the videos to others or third parties, because it is what it is. These things are going to get out if she had been doing that. And Ariana is saying, I didn't do that and I couldn't possibly have done that. Many of the articles noted that so not a single article contains such videos nor screenshots of the videos. Although much of the public discussion about Rachel Leviss was negative, she was thrilled to be in the public eye. Rachel Leviss recalled seeing an Us magazine. We were on the front cover in a little square on the top right, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to be on the cover of a magazine. Oh my God, I didn't think it was going to be like this, but still cool, right? No, Rachel Leviss, it's not cool. No. Contrary to her allegations in the complaint, plaintiff made numerous public statements about her affair with Mr. Sandoval, in which she admitted that Ms. Maddox did not know about it, apologized for hurting Ms. Maddox, and admitted that plaintiff had personal issues that she needed to work on. At no time did plaintiff claim that Ms. Maddox had caused her any harm. After the affair became public, plaintiff entered a mental health facility for 90 days. In a statement to People magazine, plaintiff's representative stated that plaintiff's decision to seek treatment was made prior to Ms. Maddox learning about the affair. Plaintiff later admitted that she sought treatment for childhood and pre-existing issues of codependency and self-esteem issues that caused her to have an affair with Mr. Sandoval in the first place. And despite Mr. Sandoval recording plaintiff masturbating without her consent, plaintiff continued to date Mr. Sandoval until mid-May 2023. So I do remember that whole saga when she was still dating him. Plaintiff's return to the public eye. After leaving treatment, and despite plaintiff's current allegation that she remains a shell of her former self, with her career prospects stunted and her reputation in tatters, plaintiff has sought to capitalize on her newfound fame. In August 2023, the plaintiff was featured in a 3-part interview on the podcast Just Be with Bethany Frankel. To be clear, plaintiff contacted the podcast to pitch the interview, not the other way around. And Rachel did admit that Rachel's mom was a big fan of Bethany and that she had reached out to Bethany. On December 2nd, 2023, the plaintiff posted on social media a picture of herself dancing with the caption, "Dancing the night away last night at Heart Jingle Ball." On December 3rd, plaintiff posted photos on social media of her at the exclusive Nobu restaurant in Malibu. In January 2024, plaintiff premiered her Rachel Goes Rogue podcast, which has now been canceled. So I wonder what she's going to be doing now. Rachel Leviss has been speaking out a lot on her social media about James Kennedy's arrest for domestic violence, allegedly against Allie, his current girlfriend. According to plaintiff's press release, she will passionately cultivate candid conversations, breaking the fourth wall in reality TV, and frankly discussing living her entire dating life on camera. In February of 2024, plaintiff appeared on the cover of Hollywood Life magazine and gave an interview to discuss her podcast and focusing on her future outside of the Bravo sphere. The same month, plaintiff was in New York for Fashion Week, which culminated with her walking the runway as a model at the Glory by Johanna Hernandez show. Next, it states the plaintiff changes her tune and blames Ms. Maddox for the damage caused by her own misdeeds. On February 29th, 2024, plaintiff filed this lawsuit. While most of the complaint is aimed at Bravo and its alleged exploitation and mistreatment of plaintiff, Bravo is not a named defendant. The complaint also blames Ms. Madix for the negative public attention plaintiff received as a result of her affair with Mr. Sandoval. Her position is not only illogical, but also a clear violation of Ms. Madix's right to speak freely about matters of public concern. Plaintiff voluntarily agreed to appear on a reality television series that placed every aspect of her personal life in the public spotlight and under a microscope, viewed by millions of people every week. As a matter of law, Ms. Madix cannot be liable for participating in discussions of a matter of public interest. This lawsuit should never have been filed against Ms. Madix and is ripe for early adjudication. This is an interesting argument. It was not a successful argument, but Ariana was alleging that it violates her free speech to be sued by Rachel Leviss because her attorneys argued that Ariana had a right to speak out about matters that were of public concern because the Sandoval story was very public and it was even on mainstream media, including CNN. For that reason, Ms. Madix brings the special motion to strike and dismiss the claims filed against her and recover her attorney's fees and costs. So then it goes into like the legal issues about what the standard is for an anti-SLAPP case. And it alleges that this situation meets those standards and that the complaint that has been filed by Rachel Leviss against Ariana Madix should be dismissed. So at the very end here, let's go to the very end of her argument where she's alleging that basically Rachel cannot prevail on her claim. She also cannot prevail on her invasion of privacy claim. And so basically Ariana is also asking the court to dismiss these specific claims for these specific reasons. And she does state on page 13 that these videos are matters of public concern and that Ariana has a right to speak out about them. So these are very lengthy arguments. We don't need to get into the weeds of all the legal cases cited and all of the legal arguments, but let's suffice to say that Ariana's attorneys ended with the plaintiff did not suffer severe emotional distress. Like Leviss faces a high bar for proving severe emotional distress. They cite the legal standard. Her allegations of distress are not severe. The revelation of a secret affair is bound to cause some distress, but her alleged distress was for a very short period. Plaintiff's own social media and podcasts demonstrate that she is not continuing to experience emotional stress, let alone severe emotional distress. So in conclusion, Ms. Madix's actions are clearly protected under California's anti-SLAPP statute. Accordingly, Ms. Madix reportedly requests that this motion to strike be granted, that Rachel Leviss's complaint be dismissed against her with prejudice, and that she be awarded her attorney's fees as an element of costs per the anti-SLAPP statute. So basically here, Ariana's lawyers filed this argument, which I will say was a very creative argument. It was a very well written argument, and I think that they had legitimate basis to file this. It was unsuccessful, however, because there was a hearing actually on this on July 11th of 2024 before the California judge, and he actually denied Ariana's motion to strike Rachel Leviss's complaint in its entirety. He issued an order denying Ariana's motion to strike the complaint, and this is his ruling here. So this is the order of the court that is presiding over this Tom Sandoval, Ariana Madix, and Rachel Leviss case. And I'm just going to quickly go through the order. It talks about how the court has discretion to permit a late filing. A defendant must move to strike a claim within 60 days of service of the earliest complaint that contains that cause of action. And then ultimately it states that the defendant, Ariana Madix, even though she's moving for a special motion to strike, he says that she did not meet the standard. He regurgitates some of the facts that he feels comprise the relevant part of the factual background here. He talks about the anti-SLAPP statute under California law. Here is his recitation of the background of this case. And ultimately, his findings and conclusions of law follow that. So it states that here's plaintiff's allegations. She alleges that her time on Vanderpump Rules was facing an uncertain future. And I'm surprised that this court really went into a lot of factual details here. He really did. He went to